our discussion of Snanayatra with a beautiful verse from Chaitanya Charitamrita. This is coming from Madhya Lila, chapter 11, text number 62. So we'll chant our invocation prayer for Chaitanya Charitamrita. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. So here's the verse. Snana Yatra Deki Prabhura Haila Bhada Sukha Ishvarera Anavasare Paila Bhada Dukkha. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Upon seeing the bathing ceremony of Lord Jagannath, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu became very happy. But when Lord Jagannath retired after the ceremony, Lord Chaitanya became very unhappy because he could not see him. Purport. After the bathing ceremony of Sri Jagannath, which takes place just a fortnight before the Ratha Yatra ceremony, the body of the Lord Jagannath deity is repainted, and this takes just about a fortnight to complete. This period is called Anavasara. There are many who visit the temple to see Lord Jagannath regularly every day, and for them, his retirement after the bathing ceremony is unbearable. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu felt Lord Jagannath's absence from the temple very much. Om Ajnanatimidandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Panchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Once again, thank you all for joining. We're speaking today about the glories of Snanayatra, the bathing festival of Sri Sri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Sudarshan. So this day is upon us. The actual day in Jagannath Puri is this coming Saturday, June the 3rd, I believe is the actual day. So the day is really upon us. And of course, in our community, we'll also be celebrating in the near future. And it's a very, very special festival, this Snanayatra. It's a festival of the Lord coming to see his devotees. Quite similar to Ratha Yatra in that sense, that the Lord agrees to leave the temple and make himself available, make his darshan available to anyone and everyone. Because in Jagannath Puri, the platform upon which the lordships are bathed for Snanayatra is very high. It's actually higher than the temple gate. So even those who may not ordinarily be able to enter the temple complex, if they're standing in the right place, the right vantage point, they can experience the beautiful darshan of Shri Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra. And this is also, in a certain way, we can say a lead up to the Ratha Yatra festival, because in Snana Yatra, the Lord is being bathed. And as the Lord is being bathed, we have this beautiful explanation that their lordships, they catch a transcendental sort of fever from the cool water, from the washing, from being out in the open. They catch a cold or a fever. And this gives rise to so much beautiful, loving exchange between the Lord and the devotees. So there's the Anavasara period, which is this period when their lordships are no longer on the altar at the temple. Their darshan temporarily goes away. And the devotees who are accustomed to coming to the temple frequently and having that darshan, they experience separation. And of course, those who are intimate servants of the Lord in the temple, they experience a new type of seva as well, because they enter this anabasara period where the Lord is sick. The Lord is transcendentally sick. Of course, we understand that the Lord's body is nothing like our body. The Lord doesn't, have to, take aspirin or anything like that. The Lord has a transcendental sort of sickness that is really happening only for the sake of loving exchange, only for the sake of pastimes, only to give opportunities for the devotees to increase their love to the Lord. So this happens in a number of beautiful ways. So firstly, those devotees who are serving the Lord directly in the temple, and of course in Jagannath Puri, everything is kind of sectioned off in terms of different families, different communities within Jagannath Puri. They have different roles in Jagannath's service. So there are some devotees that their special function is to prepare different medicines for the Lord, special herbal medicines that are given to the Lord, nice preparations, teas and ointments and various types of natural preparations to give to the Lord. So imagine how much bhakti, how much devotion is going into this preparation. And also the level of personalism that we see in this festival. In all worship of Jagannath, it's very, very personal. So there's no question of really, of course, there is awe and reverence to a healthy degree, but there's no question of a distance between the devotee and the Lord. When the devotee is preparing medicine for the Lord to be given to help the Lord to overcome his transcendental sickness, how personal, how sweet, how intimate that is. And meanwhile, this is going on and special offerings are made of medicines. The boga may be different. Of course, Lord Jagannath always has his boga offerings. Lord Jagannath is known as the form of the Lord who loves to eat all the time. So of course, boga is still being offered, but it may be adjusted, and there are medicines that are also being given, and the Lord is not on the altar in the temple. So meanwhile, the devotees, the assembled devotees who come to see Lord Jagannath, Baladev Subhadra in the temple regularly, they're experiencing a very strong experience of vipralamba, of separation from the Lord. And of course, in the ultimate sense, we are never apart from the Lord. The Lord is present with us in so many ways. The Lord is present within our hearts as Paramatma. The Lord makes himself available in so many ways. But we can say, in terms of that intimate exchange with Lord Jagannath Baladev Subhadra, going to the temple and having that darshan, that is suspended for a period of time. And during that time, the devotees are able to experience a different mood of their devotion. It's a feeling of separation. It's a feeling of missing the Lord. It's a feeling of yearning to see the Lord's beautiful form again. And of course, in the meanwhile, the Lord is being served intimately and in a very special way by his servants in the temple, and also being repainted, because of course in the course of the Snana Yatra, because Jagannath in Puri is not painted with ordinary paint. His body is made of so many natural substances. Of course, his body is fully spiritual, but we understand that the deity is prepared in a very traditional way, and ultimately the presence of Lord Jagannath is perfectly present in that deity. But at the same time, the materials that we can say that are used to fashion the deity form are all natural. So Jagannath in Puri, his paint is made from different minerals, different natural materials that when the bathing happens, there is some, we can say, fading of those colors or of those minerals. They run with the water. So of course, this is another intimate service that their lordships allow, that they can be repainted. And of course, it gives great pleasure to the devotees that after this long period of separation, it feels like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Shikshastakam, he says, moment feels like 12 years or more, right? So this is the exemplification. This is the ultimate example of what such separation can feel like when we have that actual level of deep loving connection with the Lord. A moment away from the Lord feels like 12 years or more. So in this way, we can say that the devotees, their love is growing and building, and they're yearning to see the Lord. And when finally the Lord appears, this is known as Netrotsavam. Netrotsavam. It's a festival for the eyes. It's a festival for the eyes, and the devotees are all coming to feast their eyes upon the beautiful darshan of Shri Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra. And they are newly, freshly painted. So their form in this time is known as Navayovanam, that they are perfectly youthful. And of course, we understand that Krishna is always a fresh youth. So this perfectly mirrors that reality, that when we're seeing Lord Jagannath Baladev Subhadra after being freshly painted and returning to the altar after Snana Yatra time, we're experiencing their beautiful youthful form. And there's a special dress also that is offered. And we're so fortunate in our community here that, by the wonderful devotion of the devotees, Hema Jagannath Prabhu, Prem Sarovar Mataji, who are coming from that Puri area. So many of the devotees are serving in this way that they actually have this traditional dress, special dress for this Netrotsavam. And it's very beautiful. I'm sure you've all had the opportunity to behold this darshan. So how incredible that Lord Jagannath comes out of the temple. He leaves his palace because, of course, Jagannath Puri is in the mood of a palace, very, very regal, very opulent, Aishwarya. And he leaves his palace to come and be with anyone and everyone for Snana Yatra, and then also in a very celebrated way for Ratha Yatra. And he's receiving the offerings from the devotees. So in Snana Yatra, the Lord is being bathed in beautiful, pure, clear water. And in Jagannath Puri, it's drawn from a well, from the northern well of the temple. And all of the water of the different holy tirthas, all of the different sacred bodies of water, Ganga, Yamuna, Saraswati, so on and so forth, are all invoked in that water. And special auspicious substances are also offered. So we have kumkum and haldi, kusha grass, and so many wonderful substances. Aguru, this agar wood, and chandan, sandalwood, all of these very special, wonderful substances are placed into this water. And the devotees who bathe the Lord in Jagannath Puri, we know that they actually cover their mouths with cloth so that not even the tiniest bit of their breath can contaminate this water in any way. So it's a very beautiful offering. And we can say also that this offering is an extension of what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, patram pushpam phalam toyam, right? Offer me a leaf, flower, fruit, or water. Offer that with love, and I will accept it. So in this Snana Yatra festival, also such an offering is being made. So such an offering is being made in the Snanayatra festival, that leaves and flowers and fruits, water, are all being offered to the Lord in the form of this beautiful abhishek. And that Lord Jagannath is preparing to receive so many offerings of love in the form of this Anabasara period, and also preparing to receive the love of those who he makes himself available to when he leaves the temple. So Ratha Yatra is a very special festival, and Snana Yatra is a very essential lead up to this because it creates so much anticipation to see the Lord. And the Lord is also making himself available to the general public in the Snana Yatra festival by appearing on this bathing platform that is higher than the temple gate. So what is the Lord communicating? What is the Lord showing? He's showing that he is, in fact, Jagannath, right? That he is the Lord of the whole universe. That there's no question of exclusion. There's no question of exclusivity in the worship of Jagannath. Of course, it may be that certain devotees have certain functions and perform certain types of worship for the Lord, but anyone can make an offering to Lord Jagannath. First and foremost, they can offer their hearts. And Lord Jagannath is so happy to see his devotees. He's so happy. He has this incredible form, right? Lord Jagannath, it has such a unique form of his eyes being wide open, his smile, ear to ear, beaming smile. And his arms are contracted, pulled inward, which is an expression of spiritual ecstasy. So Lord Jagannath is happy to see his devotees, not just that the devotees are coming and they're happy to behold the form of the Lord. Darshan is a two-way street. So darshan is not that we are seeing the Lord, right? That the Lord is, some sort of object that we're beholding, but actually the Lord is seeing us. And this is exemplified beautifully by one of our acharyas, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada, that when he would go into the temple, he wore eyeglasses. And when he would go into the temple, he would actually offer his obeisances. And then for darshan, he would remove his glasses. So how incredible, right? That he's not trying to see the Lord. He's making himself available and actually removing his eyeglasses, removing any layer that's preventing the Lord from fully seeing him. He's presenting himself to the Lord to be seen. So in this way, Snana Yatra festival and Ratha Yatra festivals are both festivals by which the Lord is able to see his devotees, to be able to see the wonderful assembly of people before him. And he is accepting. He's in this mood of accepting all of their loving exchanges. So many varieties of exchange. And so why is it that Lord Jagannath is happy to see us, right? He's the Supreme Lord. He doesn't need he doesn't need anything from us, we can say. Certainly materially speaking, he doesn't need anything from us. He's the possessor of all opulences. But why is he happy to see us? And I remember, I just wanted to share on a personal note, I remember when I first came to the temple and I saw the form of Lord Jagannath. And it was so striking to me to see a form of the Lord who was so visibly happy. Sometimes we think of the Lord as very high and mighty, which of course that's a reality too. But when we see the Lord being so happy, so pleased to see the devotee, what a revolutionary theological understanding that is. That not only it is that the devotee is happy to see the Lord, but that the Lord is so delighted to see his devotees. Just wanted to share. Let's see, let's find this. So in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna shares twice in Bhagavad Gita, actually, and there's a slight variation. I'll share both because it's an important thing to explore. In chapter 9, text 34, Krishna says, Man manabhava madbhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru mame vaishyasi yuktaivam atmanam matparayanaha. Engage your mind always in thinking of me, become my devotee, offer obeisances to me, and worship me. Being completely absorbed in me, surely you will come to me. And in chapter 18, text number 65, Krishna shares almost identically, but with a special variation. Man manabhava madbhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru mame vaishyasi satyam te pratijane priyosime. Always think of me, become my devotee, worship me and offer your homage unto me. Thus you will come to me without fail. I promise you this because you are my very dear friend. So we see this affection that the Lord has for the devotee, and that he says here that if we worship him, if we offer obeisances unto him, we become his devotee, we will come to him. We will come to him without fail. Such great mercy. But at the same time, this is Kali Yuga. This is very, very challenging day and age where it's hard to find sometimes even the tiniest splinters of devotion within our heart. Yet at the same time, the Lord is so merciful. So in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, if we do all of these things, we will come to him without fail. But we find in the form of Snanayatra festival and Ratha Yatra festival that the Lord is reciprocating to such a degree that even we're not doing these things, right? He promises that we'll come to him if we do those things. But actually what happens is that he comes to us. He leaves the temple. Even those who may not have access to the temple, that he's able to make himself available to anyone and everyone, even those who had no intention of coming to see him. And of course, we see this mercy expanded exponentially by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, that he inaugurated the festival of Snanayatra, of Ratha in the Western world. And in this way, all around the world, because it expanded and expanded. And what we find is that we can experience practically that, Atlantic City Ratha Yatra, many of you have been, New York City Ratha Yatra. There are people who had no intention whatsoever to see the Supreme Lord. They had no idea what they even bumped into. Wow, what is this music? What is this parade? Oh, interesting, big chariot. And all of a sudden, what they receive is the darshan of the Supreme Lord in his infinitely merciful forms of Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra, Sudarshan. So how incredible the extension of this mercy. And Krishna is always reciprocating. He's always reciprocating with each individual. And if one has the darshan of Jagannath, that is something eternal. That's not, oh, it was a nice day yesterday. We went to the parade. We talked to some people. We had nice prasadam. Of course, prasadam is eternal. But at the same time, this is an eternal impression, even for one who just turns their head, oh, what is that? And then they have the vision of Lord Jagannath. That vision is actually forming a samskar, deep impression in their heart, and something that they'll carry with them throughout this life and into the next life. So we can't underestimate the power of this mercy. Finally, I just wanted to share on the topic of Snanayatra in particular. Another beautiful aspect of Snanayatra is Lord Jagannath appears in his Hati Vesha, in this form, elephant-like form. Actually, I have a picture which maybe you can see. Let's see. I don't know if that's visible to the devotees. Just trying to show. Lord Jagannath has this beautiful elephant-like form that he appears in. And there's a beautiful story behind this. And again, it's a beautiful indication of the Lord's reciprocation with everyone, according to their individual nature, according to their individual heart. So there was a great scholar who was invited to Puri by the king of Puri at that time. And he invited him for the Snanayatra festival, such a special festival. And I also wanted to mention, before I forget, that Snanayatra is the birthday of Lord Jagannath, actually. So it's a very special day in that sense as well, that we come on Snanayatra to also wish the Lord a happy transcendental appearance day. Because when Maharaj Indradyumna inaugurated the worship of Lord Jagannath, when the deities were completed, he did so and performed a great bathing ceremony, and that was the first Snanayatra. So actually, Snanayatra commemorates and marks the birthday, transcendental birthday of Shri Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra. So in this way, we also want to offer our loving, uh, our loving mood to the Lord, in the sense knowing that it's also celebration of the appearance of the beautiful forms of Shri Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra. So anyway, there was a king of Puri who invited this great scholar to Puri to celebrate Snanayatra. He wanted to invite him into the temple. We're having a beautiful festival. Please come and be with us. So this scholar, he was very much respected, and he was a very deep devotee of Lord Ganesh, Ganapati. So he was a bit exclusive in his devotion. So he was a devotee of Lord Ganesh, and when the king invited him into the Jagannath temple, he was a little bit hesitant. And he expressed to the king, well, really, I have my Ishtadeva. I have the form of Lord in my heart, and my Lord is Ganesh. So yes, you have this festival for Jagannath, but really I'm only interested in seeing Lord Ganesh. So we can say that his understanding was a bit narrow, but he had this very deep devotion for Lord Ganesh, which is certainly something beautiful. So anyhow, the king invited him into the temple nevertheless, and he agreed. So he went into the temple, and the Snanayatra was going on. And he was observing the Snanayatra, this scholar, this Ganapati Bhakta, he was observing the bathing of the Lord. And he was feeling appreciation, but at the same time, in his heart, he was still having this feeling of, oh, well, my Lord, Ganesh, that's who I want to see. And maybe having a feeling of like superiority a little bit, and not fully appreciating what was before him, what he was witnessing, this incredible Snanayatra festival, and being in the inner sanctum of the Jagannath temple. So at the end of the festival, he's carrying these mixed feelings. And, out of etiquette, of course, he offers his obeisances. And when he comes up from offering obeisances, he sees something very incredible, something incredibly pleasing to his heart. He sees Lord Jagannath and Lord Baladev have taken on beautiful elephant-like forms with trunks, curved trunks and tusks, yet still retaining their beautiful, ecstatically happy eyes. And he was completely floored. He was completely taken aback, humbled, touched, and in ecstasy. And also Subhadra Devi, the beautiful divine feminine form that we see in Jagannath Baladev Subhadra. Her form, she's also known as Yoga Maya, the special energy of the Lord that attracts our hearts to him and gives us the opportunity for loving exchange with him. She was bedecked in a beautiful lotus flower outfit, that she had a beautiful pink lotus form around her face. So he was completely taken aback. And it showed definitively to him that Lord Jagannath is the form that from which all other forms emanate. All of the demigods, all of the personalities, Lord Jagannath is their source. He is their source. Not that he is the same as Ganesh, rather he is the source of all of the divine personalities, of all of the demigods, of all of the sages. Krishna himself in Bhagavad Gita says this, Name vidhu suraganaha prabhavam na maharshayaha aham adir hi devanam maharshinam chasarvashaha. Krishna says, neither the hosts of demigods nor the great sages know my origin or opulences, for in every respect I am the source of the demigods and sages. Krishna further states in chapter 7 of Bhagavad Gita, yo yam yam tanum bhaktaha shraddhayarchitum ichati tasya chalam shraddham tam eva vidhadam yaham. I am in everyone's heart as the super soul. As soon as one desires to worship some demigod, I make his faith steady so that he can devote himself to that particular deity. So Krishna, Lord Jagannath, is not only the source of all of the demigods, but he's also the giver of any devotion that one may have to such a personality. So he's there, situated as the super soul within the heart. He's antaryami, he's within us. So he was within this scholar, this Ganesh Bhakta, and he saw his heart and he reciprocated in such a unique, special way. And that way is still celebrated and still observed as part of the Snanayatra festival. That at the end of the Snanayatra festival, after the beautiful bathing and offering has been done, the Lord is given new dress, freshened, and also he takes this hativesha. He has this special outfit in the elephant-like form to reflect this beautiful pastime, and also just such a pleasing, unique darshan for the devotees. Lord Jagannath has so many veshas, has so many different dresses that he wears that reflect so many different facets, so many different aspects of his nature, so many different aspects of the Lord's opulences, so many aspects of the Lord's pastimes and forms and qualities. So just like a multifaceted gem, like a gem has so many different faces, in the same way, Lord Jagannath has so many beautiful faces, and it's so indicative of the variety that we see in the spiritual world, the wonderful variety that each day the residents of Vrindavan are feeling some separation, just like we feel separation from Shri Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Sudarshanji. We try to feel this mood of separation after the Snanayatra, awaiting this Netrotsavam, this festival for the eyes, awaiting to see the Lord in the Nava Yovanam, eternally youthful form. So just in the very same way, in Goloka Vrindavan, eternally, the devotees are waiting to see the Lord each day and feeling separation when he's not before them. And in the day, they're beholding the beautiful, fresh appearance of the Lord, the new dress, the new garland, the new mood that's reflected, unlimited, right? The Lord is ananta rupam, unlimited forms. And in this way, there's so much variety that can be seen day to day. And this constant back and forth of separation and of feeling of uniting with the Lord. But of course, with the Supreme Lord, everything he does brings us closer to him. So it's not like an ordinary person. When an ordinary person goes away, we feel separated from them. But when the Lord goes away, yes, we feel separation, but it's also bringing about a closeness, a deep love within the heart is starting to simmer when the Lord is making himself not visible to us. So in the same way, there's so much loving exchange going on, and we're just trying to deepen our devotion, deepen our appreciation of the Lord. And through such beautiful festivals, he showcases so many different aspects of his mercy, how merciful he is, how available he is, and how personal he is. So Lord Jagannath is happy to see us because we are his eternal parts and parcels, because we are trying to establish relationship with him, though we may fail, though we may have difficulties along the way. He knows that deep down we want that relationship with him, and that makes him so happy. And also that we have free will. We're not required to make an offering to the Lord. We're not required to go to try to see the Lord. But when we do, when we use our free will to do so, he's so pleased, because Jagannath is the Lord of everyone. He is Jagannath. He is the Lord of the universe. He is Bhakta Vatsal for sure. He is the friend and well-wisher of his devotees, of his bhaktas, but he's also Deenabandhu. He's also the friend of the fallen, the friend of the distressed. And he's Jagadbandhu. He's the friend of the entire universe. So in Snanayatra, the Lord makes himself available to anyone and everyone to accept the loving offerings of those all around him, those who are personally serving him through the beautiful bathing ceremony, and even those who are simply beholding his transcendental form, those who are making that connection. He's accepting that, and he is nourishing the devotion of all of the devotees. So thank you so much for the opportunity to share about this beautiful festival. Shri Shri Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra, Sudarshanji ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande. Hari Hari Bol.
Thank you very much, Deenabandhu Prabhu, for wonderful detailed explanation on Lord Jagannath's Snanayatra and Rathayatra. Very nice.
Hare Krishna.
Any devotees has any questions? Quick questions. We'll wrap it up in 3-4 minutes. If anyone has, go ahead. You can unmute and ask.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dhanva Pram. All Shri Prabhupada. Very nice class, Deenabandhu Prabhu. You bring a very nice point like Snana Yatra. Even we see when we go the new person, they also bewildered how the God becomes sick. But nicely you mentioned that this is not the sick like we become sick, but this is a transcendental sick. So very nice point. Because this kind of thing, bewildered the non-devotee's mind. They're thinking what we are doing, how the God becomes sick. So, yeah, very nice exchange, bro. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you very much, Jagadish Simha Prabhu. Yeah, the transcendental sickness. It's very incredible, right? That there's nothing that we can have that the Lord doesn't have, right? So we become sick, the Lord also becomes sick. Everything is a reflection of the spiritual world, but the Lord's sickness is something completely transcendental and beautiful, and something that facilitates loving exchange.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you so much for the wonderful class. Prabhuji, I was wondering that if in case you can please help us all understand, many devotees do not have deities at home. However, they really wish to connect very nicely with the deities, even though they do not have deities. So if in case there are some restrictions that they are not able to bring in deities at home, how can we fructifyingly worship the Lord in the same mood and manner, just as one would serve the deities in the temple?
Thank you so much. What a nice question, Prabhu. Thank you. I just want to clarify. So you're asking, is it kind of a two-sided question that you're asking? How can we connect very nicely with the deities in the temple, even if we don't have deities at home? And then also on the other side, if we're not able to go to the temple, how can we worship nicely at home? Is that the question?
First part is correct. Second part is, if in case we do not have deities at home, how can we still connect with the photographs or probably some other paraphernalia of the Lord, worshipping them at home, though we do not have deities? And how do we establish that connection?
Wonderful. Thank you so much. What a great question. So the Lord is very mercifully appearing, right, in this Archa Vigraha form, this deity form within the temple, or also sometimes at home. So, we have a progressive relationship with the deities in the temple. So it may not be even that we necessarily have to directly saying, in terms of dressing the deity or offering arti to the deity, bathing the deity. We may not have to necessarily perform those direct services. Of course, those are wonderful services. But at the same time, our relationship to the deity comes through whatever service we're doing, whether it is, various services in the temple, or our own services in our life, right? Taking care of our families. We try to see that as a devotional service. Even our own work, our jobs, our day-to-day life, we try our best to see this as an offering to the Lord. So the way that we can build that relationship is that in doing these things, we're remembering the deity. We're remembering the deity in the temple. And when we go to the temple and come before the deity, it's a way of checking in. It's a way of checking in with the deity. My Lord, here I am again. coming before you, and this is going on. These things are going on. I'm trying to serve in this way. That actually we have an intimate connection with the deity. It's okay to pray in a very personal way. We have beautiful prayers that are given by our acharyas, which are wonderful to repeat. But at the same time, in our own personal way, we can offer prayers to the deity. We can have some dialogue with the deity, that we share whatever's happening in our life, whatever it may be, difficulties, happy things, things that we're grateful for, things that we're struggling with. We try to share those things with the deity. And in this way, progressively, as we come before the deity more and more, we're remembering, oh yes, Lord, you've seen me through this time in my life. I remember when I came to you at this time and I was struggling with this, and now you've brought me through that, and now I have this to share with you. It's a deep relationship that we try to cultivate with the deity. And of course, we understand that the deity is the center of the temple. So also, what pleases the Lord very, very much is when we deal lovingly with his devotees. So Krishna is pleased when we serve him, no doubt. But we can say in some cases, our acharyas share that he's even more pleased when we serve the devotees. So in the temple atmosphere, if we're trying to be loving and have loving exchanges with the devotees, we should know that this is also bringing us closer to the deity, bringing us closer to the Lord. So we try to make offerings as simply as we can, or as opulently as we can. Whatever we're able to do, you do it in a personal way. It's nice to bring flowers to the temple. It's nice to bring, different things to the temple to be offered to the deity. And in this way, we understand that we're building relationship. So that's one aspect. And then just to answer the second aspect of your question, that so at home worship is very beautiful. Home worship, it's also understood that our deity at home, Jananivas Prabhu from Mayapur, wonderful pujari, he came to visit us some years ago, and he shared that when it comes to home worship, we understand that the deity at home is an expansion of the deity in the temple. So when we're serving the deity in the temple, we're also doing service to our home deity, and vice versa. We understand that, of course, Krishna appears in so many different Archa Vigraha forms, but Krishna is ultimately Krishna. And in this sense, that we, at home, we're offering worship in a very personal way. We try to be fixed in the worship, and also that we maintain this connection, right? So the temple room or the altar is like the power center of the home. It's really where we go to connect to our deepest self, to connect to the Supreme Lord, to receive inspiration, to give, to offer. And in this way, we're just guests. The proper understanding is that we're just guests, we're just servants in the house. It's not our house, it's actually Krishna's house. And we're allowed to live there, we're allowed to serve there. So the deity at home is very understanding. The deity at home can also sometimes accommodate our schedule, our dealings. It's very merciful, this home worship. And so one way to just really build that relationship in a practical way is when we come home, first thing we do, put down the groceries and go offer obeisances to your deities, to your pictures, to your altar. And when you leave the house, offer obeisances. Say a prayer, Lord, please be with me today, right? In this way, we're building up this connection. And how beautiful that Krishna appears in this merciful deity form, or in the form of his pictures, that we're able to build this connection very progressively, very actively, and very personally, that more and more we are keeping Krishna in the center of our life, of our dealings, because this is the reality. Krishna is the center of our lives. But deity worship helps us to tangibly, in a way that we can actually, because we're in physical bodies. So Krishna appears in this form that we can make offerings, that we can remember him in many beautiful ways. So this is one way that we can consider connecting to the deity in the temple, and also offering some worship at home.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Very, very grateful to you.
Thank you for the question, Prabhu.
Okay, thank you very much, Deenabandhu Prabhu. So we'll conclude with the announcements unless anyone has more questions. Okay. Pandava Nirjala Ekadasi is coming up this Tuesday. Very important. And then Parna time on the next day, Wednesday 31st, is 10:17 to 10:27. That's based on the tobacco, Morristown. And also Monday is Baladev Vidyabhushan Disappearance Day, who is who has written our commentary on Vedanta Sutra, Govinda Bhashya. And Prabhupada dedicates Bhagavad Gita to Baladev Vidyabhushan. So, a great Acharya in our line, disciple of Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti. And June 1st is Chidadahi festival, Panihati Chidadahi. Raghunath Das Goswami is also called Danda Mahotsav, punishment of Lord Nityananda Prabhu or mercy of Lord Nityananda Prabhu to devotees. The June 1st, Thursday. Then June 3rd is the Jagannath Snan Yatra, a very, very important day, as we discuss birthday of Lord Jagannath. So you can offer is more merciful than any other day, Radha Yatra and Jagannath Snan Yatra. And so you can bring whatever you like to offer for Lord Jagannath's pleasure and Sri Prabhupada's pleasure. Then June 20th is the actual day Radha Yatra, which is Tuesday. June 20th, please mark it. June 20th, Tuesday, Jagannath Radha Yatra in the evening. Please join at our temple. There we'll have the actual day Radha Yatra. And June 24th, Saturday, is Atlantic City Radha Yatra. So please note down. That will be from 12 to 4 or so in Boardwalk, Atlantic City. Please join. So those are the upcoming announcements. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Vanchakalpatarubhasya Kripa Sindhubhaya Vacha Patsam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo. Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you, Deenabandhu.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Okay, we'll conclude today. Thank you.